Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Today we are going to go over all the SQL code that we need to know for the 9618 Computer Science syllabus in A levels. So on my left hand side we have the little part of the syllabus which deals with this, and I converted all the parts relevant directly to making SQL statements to a checklist down here. Based on this checklist, I created some 19 exercises which will help us memorize and be able to apply all the SQL code which we will need on the exam. So let's go through it step by step. Try to solve these problems by yourself, and if you can, and if you can't solve all of them, that's okay. Have a look at my video solutions. Have a look at the answer sheets which you can download from the link in the description, and memorize the commands before. Make sure you're ready before the exams in May or whenever you're taking the exam. Okay, first of all, we start with an easy one. List all commands from the client's table. This is obviously a select command. Star means show me all columns, and then we have to say from which table? From the client's table. And normally it's a very good idea to put a semicolon on the back, because if we're doing multiple commands, we know, and a lot of commands in SQL, we spread it over multiple lines. And if we have multiple commands one after the other, using the semicolon makes it absolutely clear where each command ends. Okay. Generally, we have, for any functions where we're showing something, we start with select, followed by which columns we want to show or which attributes we want to show, and then from, and then the table name. Let's see. First, list all first name from the client table in alphabetical order. We do select. We're only interested in first name from clients in alphabetical order. So we do that by using the command words order by. And now we would like to specify what? So order by first name. We can also specify in ascending order or in descending order. Let's stick to ascending order. So we've done select already, and we've done order by already. Next, count all games with a price less than 10 euros. So let's see, what do we want? We want to show something, so we're going to select. What do we want to show? We want to show the count of all the games, which is just basically counting the rows. So we could count the entire row, or we could count any of these attributes if we want. From, oh, excuse me, I'm making a slight mistake. If you notice any mistakes I make, please let me know in the comments. So count each row from the table games, and now we need a condition. We need a condition that the price is less than 10 euros. So we do where price is smaller than 10, semicolon. So we have also included the where. Get the average and the sum of all prices, of the prices of all the games. Here we go like this. Select, we're trying to show something. What are we trying to show? We're trying to show the average of the price, and we also want to show the sum of the price. From which table? From the games table. So that covers sum, count, and average. Next, insert into. We've got a new client named Chewbacca of client ID 212 with no email address. So we do insert into clients. We're inserting into the clients table. And now we open brackets and we gotta say which attributes we want to add data to. So we're gonna add data to the client ID attribute, to the first name attribute, and the surname attribute. And now we want to specify what values we're gonna do. I'm running out of space over here, so let me start a new line, excuse me. Values. First name, client ID 212, excuse me. First name Chew, second name Baka. Semicolon. Notice that the semicolon is at the back. Okay. Next. So we're going to update. Which table are we updating? The clients table. And we're going to set the email attribute is equal to Chewy at blueber.com. Are we gonna, if we do it like this, we're gonna update everybody's email address, but we only want to update Chewy's email address. So we have to make sure we add a filter where, and we could filter by first name or surname, or but to be make sure nothing goes wrong, we're gonna filter by client ID, where client ID is equal to 212 semicolon. Okay, delete the client with client ID 207. Delete, oops. Delete from which table? Clients. Be very careful because we don't want to delete all the clients. We only want to delete client 207. Okay, so let's see. We've done insert, update, and delete from. Next, we would like to group the names by their genre and show the average price for each genre. This is another case of select. We're showing something. We're displaying the average price. What are we displaying? The average price. From which table? From the games table. And now we group by genre. So this is gonna take every game which has the same genre and put them all together in one group. And let's say we have 4 games in the horror genre. It's gonna put these 4 games and display it as one row, and it's gonna display the average price of these 4 games. Okay, list all client IDs and show all the games and show the title of each game that they bought. So this is a bit of a tricky one because we want to list the client ID, which is from the orders table or the clients table, and we want to show the game title, and they're linked with game ID. So we're combining two tables together. If you need to combine two tables together, the most straightforward thing you do is you use inner join. So let's see. Select, we want to show the client ID. We want to show also the game title. And we want to do it from which table now? We want from two tables combined. So we're going to use inner join orders. That's the table that's on the left hand side. Inner join games. We combine orders and games. But we have to make sure that for each client that we show in every row, we only list a game that the client actually bought, and we don't list a game that somebody else bought. So we have to make sure that we specify that the game ID, we only show games where the game ID in the order entry is identical to the game ID as specified in the games entry. In other words, we're linking this primary key with this foreign key. So we have to write on now game ID equals game ID. This is very ambiguous because we have two attribute names which are identical. I have no idea if I'm referring to game ID from the orders table or game ID from the games table. So we have to just specify that I want orders dot game ID. In other words, the game ID from the game table has to be equal to games dot game ID. And now we're done. Semicolon. So as you can see, until now I never had to specify which table the attribute is in, because so far the tables all have had, the attributes we've been referring to have all been unique to that table. Also, so far I've only been referring to one table at a time. But when you refer to multiple tables at a time, like using inner join, it's a good idea to always, just to prevent any chance of anything from going wrong, to always specify which table you're looking in. So let's have a look. We're going to select client ID, not from the clients table, but from the orders table. So let's make sure it's looking into the orders table when it's looking for this client ID. And also, just to be sure nothing goes wrong, when we're looking for game title, we have to look for it in the games table. So we'll do it like this. Okay. Next. List all client IDs and show the total amount that each client spent, sum of prices. So we're gonna sum up the price of each client that each client spent. So let's see, we're going to show, what do we want to show? We want to show the client ID. In which table? Orders. Dot client ID, comma, and we want the sum of the prices. Sum of which table? Games. Games dot prices. From, now we got to make an inner join because we're combining two tables. Remember? So we're going to combine orders and games again. Let's keep orders on the left. In the case of using inner join, it doesn't really matter which one you put on the left and which one you put on the right. So we've got inner join, and which records do we match with which records? The ones where game ID is identical. So orders dot game ID equals to games dot game ID. And then we want to group by, because remember we're calculating the sum of a group. Excuse me. Orders dot client ID. So we're collapsing all the client IDs together. Okay. Next we're gonna start working on let's have a quick look. Group by we did, and inner join we also did. Next we're going to talk about data definition language, which is more used to design and create databases, as opposed to DML, which we use to add and remove and show data in an existing database. So let's have a quick look. Okay, so next we're going to create a new database named research. To do that, we just use a create word. Create database research. Semicolon. Easy peasy, right? Next, we're going to add a table named list of experiments. To do this, we just create table. And then we give it the name. List of experiments. But in this case, we also have to add our attributes. So we're going to add an ID, which is of type integer. We are also going, let's put a comma. We're also going to add a description, which is a varchar. And it's 255 letters long. So this is what varchar means. It's actually just a variable length character. Integer, you should know from pseudocode. Varchar is just another word for string, only now we're specifying how long it can possibly be, the maximum possible length. Next, date. Date is a type, a date type. And we also want to do time, which is a time type. And when we're done specifying all the attributes we need, we can close brackets, semicolon. Okay, let's do the same for results. We're gonna give it an ID called in, which is an integer. We're gonna give it an experiment ID, which is gonna be a foreign key. Oh, I forgot the comma. We're gonna give it a result, which is a real. A real is just like with pseudocode. A decimal number. Boolean, success. Was the experiment a success or not? Boolean, true or false. So as you can see, we have learned about creating databases and tables. We also learned about character, which is basically the same as char. We learned about varchar, Boolean, integer, real, date and time. That's it. Let's move on to the next. Make ID in the two tables primary keys. So we've got altered table for that. Altered table. We will say list of experiments. And we're going to add a primary key. Add primary key. And which attribute are we going to make a primary key? The ID attribute. Same thing for the other table. Altered table. Results. Excuse me. Add primary key ID as well. Okay, what about adding foreign keys? Well, it's the same thing. Alter table. List of experiments. We're gonna add a foreign key. And the name of the foreign key, or the name of the attribute which we're going to use as a foreign key, in brackets. Then what's the corresponding primary key? We use a reference, the references keyword for that. It references the key. In which table is this primary key? In the other one, in the results table. And what's the name? ID. So that's how you add a foreign key. Remember, it's quite similar to primary key, only we also need to know references. Yeah? References, we put which table we can find the primary key in and the name of the attribute. It's all pretty easy, but it's a lot to memorize. Okay. Next, add a column named category to the results altered table. Oh, excuse me. Altered table. We're going to add, again, we're using altered table. This time we're going to add a category. Which table? Results. Add category. That's simply the name of the attribute. And what type as well? The type is character in this case. Next, rename the column which we just added to class. Altered table again. In this case, which table? Results. Going to alter the results table. And we're gonna not add, but we're gonna rename something. Rename column. We're gonna rename the column. And we're gonna rename it from category. We're gonna rename the category column to class. Change the type of the column from char to varchar. This is similar again. Alter table. In which table? Results. Then we have alter column class varchar 2. So we used to have a one-letter code to classify the category or the class of the experiment, but now we're using a two-letter code to classify the class of the experiment. But then again, if you don't want to bother with having this class column at all, then we're gonna delete it from the table. Again, It's an altered table command. Drop column class. So all in all, it's not that hard, is it? It's not that complicated. The two which are kind of a little complicated are group by and inner join, but the rest is pretty easy to understand, but it's a lot to memorize. So unfortunately, there's no other way around it. Let's just memorize it and we will be ready to get a very good mark at the exam. Okay, good luck. See you in the next video. Bye for now.